We are going to finish up the shape and sounds portion of this exercise in this video. I did a little bit of tweaking since we left off last time just because I wasn't totally psyched with the dots, so I did a little timing change. And if I was to just show you the dots themselves, I streamlined the information as far as the rhythm that I was trying to isolate. And it totally helped. So you can see just the very beginning of it. Pause. So it goes boom, 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 pause, boom, 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 pause. And then I elaborated on it, so it goes boom, 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 pause, boom, 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 pause, and then at the bottom I repeated it with another layer, duplicate, boom, 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 pause, boom, 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 pause. So I have some mimicry and repetition going on, which is always good in design. And then I pursued another layer that I should call the walking square. And the walking square I brought in halfway through with the bass line to my audio track where it walks and basically it rolls over onto every side when the bass hits. So it goes boom, 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 and then changes color. Doot, doot, doot. Bum, 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 doot, doot, doot. There's me singing for you. How about we just play it and you listen to it? So I'm pretty happy with it. But I would still love to change a few things, which I would do, but in the interest of time, I am not. And that would be that I really love the way that it ends with the square pretty much right where the dots are. And I would think it'd be really cool to space these dots out better so that they exist at every location when this thing is on its side. So that would be what I would change. But I do like how it changes the color of the dot as soon as it rolls onto that side. Dunk, dunk, dunk. Pretty cool. And I feel like it really came together. So let me walk you through the square, how I did that, and then I'm going to cut you loose, and you're going to have to do your own version of this shapes animating to sound for an exercise. And it'll make you good at doing this. Once in a while, I try to throw out the redneck voice. Okay, I'm just going to turn my walking square off so I have it as a reference. So now I need a new layer to come in to my baseline. So the way that the shape layer tool works, you want to make sure that there are no other layers selected when you draw a new shape. Otherwise, it'll become a mask, and we're going to get into masks later. So this tool is the shape tool and the mask tool. So if I was to have base circles selected, and I go up to this tool, you can see that there's a little button up here that says Tool Creates Shapes or Tool Creates Masks. You want to make sure that's on Shapes, but I don't want to create a square inside of this container. It already has the circles in it that I want. So I need to make sure nothing is selected. So I do a deselect all, which is Command-Shift-A, or just click somewhere where there's nothing, either in your timeline or on your canvas. So I'm going to draw my square. So here's my square, and there are some specifics that I want for this square as far as its dimension goes to help me do some really tricky things, and they involve math. So it's best if I keep my shape to something that is workable. So I'm going to open up rectangle 1. I'm going to open up a rectangle path 1, and I see something called size. I would like my square to be 150 pixels wide by 150 pixels tall. And since this little chain link is attached, that means that it'll keep them the same no matter what. So now my size is uniformly 150 by 150. That's going to help me do some math later on. I can close rectangle path 1. I don't have a stroke on this rectangle, so I don't even need that. I could select it and just hit delete, and it just kind of cleans up the information for that shape layer. I do have my fill, and I'm just going to deal with that later. The transform I do need to address, or I would like to address. And the one thing that just kind of drives me nuts when I make a shape layer is that I have this shape that I create, but it's never like centered or located where I would like it to be. And if I wanted to center it, I would go to position for the rectangle, and I would hit 0 for Y and 0 for X. Why did I do those backwards? X and Y. 0 for X and 0 for Y. That centers it perfectly in my composition. However, I don't want it centered because I need to rotate this thing as if it was a box, a square stone, whatever, and it has to sort of plop and pivot over each corner, which poses a problem for me as an animator because my anchor point is usually not moving. It's usually stationary, and I get to do things like rotate, and it rotates around the anchor point. And usually we want to rotate things from the center, but not in this case. In this case, I needed to rotate from the corners. So I am going to take my anchor point X value, and I'm going to move it to 75. Why is 75? Because 75 is half of 150. So now I can see that the anchor point is on the right edge of my square, but I also need it to be at the bottom. So I'm going to change my Y value to 75, and I can just type that in. So at 75 and 75, I have a square with the anchor point nestled into a corner, and now if I rotate it, it will rotate and pivot from that corner, which is important for the result that I am looking for. Now I am going to keyframe anchor point, position, and rotation for the rectangle. Not in my layers transform, but here inside the transform area for this rectangle in the contents area. So I'm going to keyframe anchor point, position, and rotation. So there are my keyframes. The top two, anchor point and position, I need to turn those into hold keyframes because I need that information to change every time I've completed a pivot. So I'm going to select just those two keyframes for anchor point and position, right click on them, and toggle hold keyframes. Now they will hold until told to be some other value. So if I just move my playhead forward a little bit, I haven't timed this out yet. I'm just kind of roughing it out first, and then I'll move my keyframes later to the actual rhythm. So now I can rotate 90 degrees, and I get this. I get bloop, and it just rotated over that one corner. And it is now at this point when I need the anchor point to reside in the new right bottom corner, which means I need to change some of this information. So if I slide the Y value to a -75, now it's nestled in that corner, but my square has moved 75 pixels to the left, or maybe it was it was 150. So that's why I need to now make my X value a positive 150, 150 because the width of my box is 150. So magically, behind the scenes, we get a new anchor point, which means at this point I can hold for a little bit, and then I'm going to set a keyframe for rotation. Don't click on the stopwatch. I'm clicking on the diamond, which is kind of like a hold in a way because these two values are the same. And I'm going to move forward and pivot another 90 degrees. So I'll go to 180. And because I changed that information, I'm getting the roll like I need it to be. At this point, I'll change the info again to be... Oh crap. Hold on, I gotta think here. Thinking. Does it need to go back to... Where is it? Why don't I see my anchor point? Now I'm confused. 75, negative 75. So I think I need to go negative 75. Why would that be negative 75? Crap. You know what? I even wrote all this stuff down, and I'm following it, but it's not making sense to me. That wouldn't be a plus. No. Okay, hold on. So I need to add another 150, so I'll go 300. Whew. I hope this works. Boom. And then I'm going to hold again. I'm going to enter a keyframe, just plop one down for rotation. Move forward a little bit. Rotate. Yay, I did it. Rotate it another 90 degrees, so I'm going to go to 270. To type it in. Things are happening. Roll, roll, roll. Yay. Now, again, I need to change that information to be on the Y value to a positive 75. I need to add another 150 to this value, so it'll be 450. And we're where we should be. Move forward a little bit, set a keyframe for rotation. Move forward again, rotate another 90, and that should be 360. And I have now gone full rotation. Boom, boom, boom. I actually don't want to do that just yet. Boom, boom, boom. Yay. Okay. So now comes the orchestration part to the audio, which I need to listen to the bass line. I should just hide that guy so we don't see him. So with my new square layer selected, I'm going to listen to an audio preview and set down some markers. There they are. Boom, 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 boom. All right. 1, 2, 3. Change colors. 1, 2, 3. Change colors. All right. That's my plan. Now, if I open the layer that is my square to reveal only the properties that I am keyframing, I could hit U for used keyframes. And that's a nice way to streamline that information in the timeline so I don't have to see everything for that layer. And now I can work with timing. So I'm just going to select all those keyframes, move them over so that the rotation, boom, happens. I need to move these keyframes over now. Try to keep them spaced about the same. That's pretty good, actually. I know it's not where I want it visually in space, but I'm just going to check it for timing right now. RAM preview. Seems to be okay. I don't need to see it until later. And then I need to think about position. So now, position. I don't want to change the position of my rectangle. I want to change the position of the layer itself. So I grab the layer and I can get my move tool and move this guy so it's off screen. And we get, oh, you know what, I went too far. Because that's the beginning of it. Okay, so here it is, the beginning, right off screen. Boom. 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 And now I need to change color. It's interesting. It lands pretty close to that yellow one. Boom, boom, boom. Ding, ding, ding. All right, so I'm going to change the color of my rectangle. I need to open the contents of that again. So sometimes that means you have to collapse and uncollapse again. So I'm going to change the fill color. And I'm going to use a keyframe at the very beginning. That is a hold keyframe. Excuse me! Oh, edit that out in post. Toggle hold keyframe. Why do I want to hold keyframe? Because I want to hold color until it lands. So now if I hit U again, there we go. Pulls up my keyframes that I'm using. So that value, that color, I need to change now. I'm going to use the color picker here in the timeline to just select that first maroon. And then we roll again and land here. So I can grab the color picker and pick that brown. And you can see how it changes in the timeline with hold keyframes. So it's orange, but boom, as soon as it lands it turns maroon, and then it rolls, and as soon as it lands it turns brown. I'll do it one more time, grab the eyedropper, make it yellow, and then we cycle through on the rhythm, orange, shouldn't be moving yet though. Orange, maroon, and brown. I think that we're working for me. Boom, 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 doo, be, doo. And then where are we? Alright, so it needs to be rotating right here. So this rotation is coming up. Let's look at that. Yeah, so we're getting there. Now I would just keep on the track of changing the anchor point and position for the rectangle so that it's always pivoting off of the bottom right corner, keyframing the rotation another 9 degrees for every time it needs to stomp down on that bass rhythm, and then also changing the color. And the final result would be my square completing its mission of moving to the bass. It's cool. All right. So there we have it. Some shape layer introduction. I recommend that you play around with all of the shapes. The polygon tool will draw you a polygon. And while you are still drawing it before you let go, you can increase the amount of sides by hitting your up or down arrow. And you can increase the roundness by hitting the left or right arrows. And if you keep going, you can get some pretty interesting stuff happening. And that's all information known as outer radius, outer roundness. So there's my outer radius, there's my outer roundness. And that can be set back to 0 if you don't like it, so it's nice and crisp. Or you can animate that stuff over time, which is kind of fun. Seeing this stuff happening over time is rather mesmerizing. So many attributes that you're looking at in After Effects are keyframeable. You just have to keep that in mind because you can produce some pretty interesting results by just animating those properties. So my points here can also be animated over time, so I can make triangles or little balls that maybe go wiggle to rhythm, you know. So that's your polygon tool. I will get rid of that, and then we'll add a star. So the star, oh, what happened? Go away. And there's my star. My star is a little wonky right now. I need to, that looks more like a star. Okay, so the star has also, while you're drawing it without letting go of the mouse, you can add points to your star with the up or down arrow. Okay, get some pretty cool shapes just that way. And then the left and right arrow will change that roundness again of the points. And then you have command, which if you drag in or out will change the outer radius of your points. And then option will just change the scale of your guy. And if you start to do those things in like conjunction of each other, you can get some interesting, you know, alternating, not doing them together, but if you do them together, nothing happens. So you can really mess with your shape while you draw, but always just go and open up the path of your polystar or your polygon and see how many points do I have, what's the inner radius, the outer radius, inner roundness, so you can round the inside of it or bloat it, which is really cool. I'm tripping out. Oh my god, it's made a sunflower just by changing one attribute. Look at that, that's beautiful. Cool. What a complex shape just by changing one thing. And then you have your inner roundness. Oh my god, what's going on? Ah. So, oh wow, I've never made that shape before. That's really sweet. What am I doing though? It's a great example. I'm just playing, right? So you need to get in there and just play first and see if there's anything that starts to trigger some creative ideas for this exercise, and then figure out what it is that you can animate in conjunction with the audio. You know, I was just doing opacity and rotation and position for the square, but you know, nothing's stopping you from doing rotation while you're doing inner roundness stuff. Ooh, this is getting crazy. And having the shapes move to orchestrate that, or that's not even the right word, be choreographed to the score that you've established for yourself. Okay, have fun.